In today's episode, try to be lazy and get me to do your job, I'll let you fail. Hotel closest to the middle of Tampa Bay? Gotcha, chief. Strictly stick to the work hours and top an hour extra? You have it, boss. So let's get started. Try to be lazy and get me to do your job, I'll let you fail. This happened 2 decades ago. Some background: my first job was at a fast food chain. I worked hard, impressed the store manager, and got myself promoted. At the time, I was still 17. So, I was promoted to team leader, with implication that I would get promoted further when I was older. I was still in high school, so I worked the evening shift, which started at 4 and ended at 12. The evening manager was a good guy who also worked hard, and as a result had gotten promoted to a store manager position at a different location. Since they needed a manager, and I wasn't old enough, they hired a new manager who I'll call Karen. So Karen is hired and starts shadowing the current night manager, learning the ropes. After 2 weeks, he departs and she is now set take over. That's where this story really starts. I normally get in around 30 minutes early. One of my responsibilities is to make a position chart, which tells the workers where they are working that night. I need to hand it off to the manager for approval before posting it. As I arrive, I notice one of our night shift workers is already there. We'll call her Jen. She is sitting in the lobby crying and being consoled by other employees. I always found her to be a bit manic, but she was a nice girl. She had a rough home life, so I didn't hold it against her. Come to find out, she had just had a large fight with her mother, which ended with her getting kicked out. So, she is effectively homeless. Good reason to be upset. I ask her if she needs the night off. She says no, she needs the money. I can't disagree and head off to get started. For the night shift, the night manager typically runs the drive-through register after day shift leaves. There are a few reasons for this. First, this means that the manager has control of the drawer and money for the entire night. This eliminates the possibility of employees having short drawers. Second, this also puts the manager as the person interacting with the customers. I lived in a college town, so drunken guys drive through all the time and just want to chat up the pretty face behind the register. Third, it gives the manager the least amount of responsibilities as far as cleanup. So, given what I now know, I make up a position chart and place Karen on the register and Jen on a fryer where she can get help if she can't focus. I walked to the office to hand off the chart to night manager, and was surprised that he wasn't there. He normally is in at least an hour before shift to make sure everything is ready. That's when I remembered, this will be Karen's first night alone. I groan inwardly. This is gonna be a trial by fire kind of night. The day manager is there, but no sign of Karen. It's now 10 minutes to shift and even day manager is wondering what's up. I fill day manager in about Jen, show her the chart and ask if it looks good. She agrees, and I said I'll post it for now and Karen can sign it when she gets in. I had just finished posting the position chart when Karen shows up looking frazzled. She heads for the office without a word to anyone. Meanwhile, people start getting into position and ready for the shift. A few minutes later, Karen walks up, pulls my position chart, and replaces it with a new one. Again, she walks off without a word. According to the new position chart, Jen is working the drive-through and Karen is working nothing. Her name isn't there. She has another employee working 2 positions, and the whole shift working effectively 1 person short. WTF? I head to the office where Karen and day manager are talking and ask for some clarification. I explain there must be a mistake. Karen: no, that's right. Me: but you're not in a position and worker is working 2 positions. Karen: well, how am I supposed to be in charge if I'm in a position? Day shift, and I just stare at her blankly. Day shift: you need to be in position. You are accounted for in the labor calculations. Karen: well, I have 6 years of management experience, and I have never needed to fill a position to get the job done. Things are gonna change around here. We do things my way now. Now, she just spent the last 2 weeks shadowing a manager that walked her through every step of the job. She knows she should be in position and why. This shouldn't even be a question. She just wants to spend the shift sitting in the office and everyone knows it. At this point, day shift manager and I are sharing horrified glances at each other. I tell Karen that she'll need to go get people moved around if that's what she wants, because it's her plan. She gives an exasperated sigh and heads that way. I turn to day shift and plead with her to call the store manager and let her know what's going on. She agrees. I head back to the line and start working. After short time later, day shift pulls me aside and says that the store manager said it is Karen's shift, she is in charge. She makes the decisions. Then she leaves for the night. The shift proceeds to implode in a spectacular fashion. Less than an hour in, the employee working 2 positions is so far in the weeds that orders are taking 3 times as long to get out. The drive-thru is backed up and the guys stuck at the window waiting are trying to flirt with Jen, who is having none of it and getting more annoyed by the minute. As the wait gets longer and longer, the people are becoming more and more irritated as they get to the window, and they are taking it out on Jen. Things are starting to get out of hand and Karen is nowhere to be seen. I go to the office to let her know we need help and find her watching a portable TV. I start to tell her what's going on and she cuts me off. She tells me get back on the line, do my job and stop bothering her. I was about to try and explain when I just thought, you know what, screw that. Cue malicious compliance. I turned, walked back to the line and watched the situation unfold. 30 minutes later, a car at the window is giving Jen an earful about how long she has been waiting. She calls her worthless and Jen goes off. She takes the large strawberry milkshake next to her, chucks it at the lady and calls her a fat ugly C. The lady and the inside of her car are covered in pink goo. Everything went so silent you could hear a pin drop. Then the lady starts screaming. Jen closes the window on her and walks calmly to the back. The lady peels around the front and comes in the front door screaming for a manager. I go and knock on the office door. Karen appears looking pissed and annoyed. She tries to snap at me, but I tell her she has a customer at the front asking for the manager. Karen rolls her eyes and heads towards the front, oblivious to the shitstorm that is waiting. I went and found Jen huddled in the back crying again. I tell her to get herself together and head back to the front when she is ready. I head to the line where the now purple-faced lady is screaming at Karen about dry cleaning and upholstery cleaning and I want that girl fired. At this point, I can see that Karen has finally realized that things have gotten way out of control. She is trying to calm the lady down, but she is having none of it. Eventually, Jen comes back to the line and lady starts in on her again, calling her all kinds of nasty things. Karen just stood there and let the woman berate her. Jen just kinda deflated in front of us. Watching her crumble like that just broke something in me. I walked over to Jen and said, just quit. You're better than this job. And you can do better. She looked up at me for a moment, then smiled. She lifted her chin, walked to Karen, said I quit, handed her name tag to her and walked out. Karen started apologizing to the lady, who now seemed slightly mollified. Then, Karen started bad-mouthing Jen to her, saying how she was a terrible employee, and how we were all happy she was gone. That's when I decided I was better than that job too. I looked at Karen and said, the only terrible employee here is you. And I walked out. 2 other employees walked out right behind me. We all met with Jen in the parking lot, and went to an IHOP where we sat and speculated on how Karen was getting along. Jen told me that was the first time in her life anyone had ever stood up for her. The next day, I got a call from the store manager asking for an explanation. Apparently, Karen had struggled the entire night with service. Afterwards, she had been there most of the night trying to clean and prep for day shift, and had done a piss-poor job. The story she had given the store manager was that Jen and I had planned everything with the intent to set her up because we didn't like her and wanted to see her fail. Karen had basically blamed the whole incident on Jen and I. The store manager told me she was investigating to get all sides of the story. So I told her. A few hours later, she called again and informed me that Karen was no longer employed and asked if I would be coming in that night. I asked if Jen was getting her job back. She said no. The whole shake debacle wasn't something she could overlook. I said then my answer is no. She was surprised. She tried to negotiate with me. I told her my price was Jen getting her job back. She said she couldn't do that. And that was that. If you're wondering how Jen turned out, I married her. We are very happy and have 4 children. Hotel closest to the middle of Tampa Bay? Gotcha, Chief. This happened February of this year. I had to make sure the idiot that I committed MC to isn't on Reddit. I am now certain he doesn't even know what Reddit is. Some context: my immediate supervisor, let's call him Daryl, is an all-around jerk. Our receptionist, let's call her Betsy, got a massive butt chewing from Daryl one afternoon. Apparently, Daryl asked Betsy to forward every piece of communication from company XYZ to his mailbox. He had forgotten his cell phone at home, and had no way to access his email. This was made clear only after the events that unfolded later that day. We have physical cubby-style mailboxes that no one, Daryl included, ever use for intra-office or inter-office communication. I have reference books in mine, others stuff their coats, hats, etc. in theirs. Our company tries to be as paperless as possible. There's an edict from upper management that if possible, messages, PDF documents, are to be forwarded via email. Betsy, as per usual, forwards the docs from company XYZ to Daryl's email inbox like she had done a million other times. Incoming email goes to a monitored general mailbox due to the nature of our business. Daryl blew a gasket when the intern that he sent to the office for various other reasons met him back at the job site saying he had nothing in his mailbox. Late in the day he gathers all of his subordinates including Betsy, who technically isn't part of his support staff. He rips her apart in front of all of us. He says to Betsy, I said mailbox, not email inbox. A 6-year-old knows the difference between the two. Betsy tries to reason that Daryl should have notified her about his phone being left at home. Daryl's forehead veins are throbbing at this point and he's beet red. He says, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't need to give any of you unnecessary information. You just follow my directions, ver fucking bat him. When I say red, I don't mean maroon. When I say non-fat milk, I don't mean low-fat milk. He went on and on with other examples. Betsy was crushed and naturally humiliated. One of my duties is to coordinate travel and accommodations for our team whenever any of us have to travel to meet clients. I already had concrete plans to relocate to a different state, and was planning to give HR my 2-week notice in about a week or two. I thought I'd give old Daryl a parting gift. MC incoming. I overheard him talking on his phone one morning that he's meeting fellow KC Chiefs fans in Tampa to watch the Super Bowl between his Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. He scheduled a client visit in Tampa conveniently on the Friday before the Super Bowl. He verbally tells me to book a hotel that's nearest to the middle of Tampa Bay, and he wants his final connecting flight to land in Tampa Bay. I said, you got it, Chief. I smugly asked, do you want your itinerary and confirmation in your mailbox or your email inbox? He looks at me like I'm something sticky that got stuck at the bottom of his shoes and says, you saw me talking to someone using my cell phone, didn't you? Me, I sure did. So mailbox or email inbox? Daryl, email, for F***'s sake. He then storms out. The next day I forward his hotel booking and flight details to his email, mentioning in all caps, closest to the middle of Tampa Bay. Remember, email is monitored so the higher-ups, legal department, HR has easy access to our paper trail. I asked him to please respond back via email that the itinerary is satisfactory to him. I get a response email saying, that's what I said. He is now booked to fly from Chicago to Tampa Bay, the body of water, not Tampa the city, via a national airline that lands in St. Pete Clearwater Airport with a connecting flight, a local seaplane, that will take him from St. Pete to Tampa Bay Harbor. His waterfront hotel, of course, is the closest to the middle of the bay, a good 20 to 25 miles to the middle of downtown Tampa. Addendum: I had 4 days left when he came back to the office the Tuesday after the Super Bowl. Didn't acknowledge me whatsoever. Didn't make eye contact. Didn't delegate in tasks for me at all. I emailed him the morning of my last day asking him what gives. Everything is okay, right? I told him it's been a pleasure and bid him farewell. No response from him. I was told by my teammates, whom I remained in contact with, that Daryl mellowed out over the several weeks after my departure, even going as far as personally apologizing to Betsy in front of them. Betsy got promoted to my old position. Daryl gave her a glowing review, believe it or not. No one but the Redditverse know about my exploit. Strictly stick to the work hours and top an hour extra? You have it, boss. Sorry, this post became very long as it has 2 parts. Now I understand why most of the posts in this sub are related to people's workplaces. This happened just before I quit my last job, some 4 years ago. I was working with the largest IT company in my country. It is known for being employee-friendly, with very relaxed working hours and good perks and emoluments. However, the delivery head of our project, our boss, had a totally different outlook. Officially we were supposed to work from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., but nobody stressed about it because clocking in a total of 45 hours a week was the only compliance required. Personally, I like to work till late, less traffic while returning, so I'd go to work by 10 to 10:30. The client never used to bother us before 11. Not very disciplinary on my part, one no, but that was the general trend in that company. This boss guy suddenly decided to become draconian about punctuality in office hours. Everyone is expected at their workstations by 9. Nonetheless, all of us complied, saying, if 45 hours is the only rule, so be it. Q. Malicious compliance 1-. Now, since in my team I was the last person to leave every day, I had voluntarily taken up a few extra technical responsibilities that needed to be addressed only after everyone signed off and after the client was done for the day, which was never before 8. As you can guess, it immediately became chaotic when I began, reaching at 9 and leaving at 6 every day. Needless to say, the boss was helplessly out of his wits and had to stay back himself most of the nights for a week to wrap up the closing tasks. Yes, he always used to leave by 6 before this. He was neither much acquainted with the SOPs, nor could he gather aid from any of his staff, so he really found himself in a mess. They could have simply reinstated our work hours. Instead, this is what they do one fine evening. Boss, why are you leaving now? Me, I'm done for the day. It's 6:30 already. Boss, who will do the technical responsibilities? Me, but then I'd have to stay for another 2 hours. Boss, okay, let's see. During the last 1 month you have come to work after 10 every day. That's 20 to 22 hours of deficiency. I couldn't decide if I should laugh or be infuriated at his nonsensical statement. Me, but I've worked till 8:30 p.m. every day, so not only that's incorrect, but I've actually worked 20 to 22 hours more for which I should claim overtime payment. Boss, then why didn't you? Dismissing, anyway, that's a separate topic altogether. From tomorrow you're either coming an hour early or staying an hour late, for a whole month, to compensate for your deficiency. Q. Malicious compliance 2-. At that time I was preparing for another high-paying job in the government sector that requires an immensely tough competitive exam to be cleared, for which I needed to put in a lot of effort and time into studying and researching. The exams were due in a month and I was struggling with the latter as I used to return late. So, I saw this as the optimal opportunity to kill 2 birds with a stone situation. I decided to comply. Well, I began to clock in at 8 every day, study and research vigorously for an hour without any disturbance, using the company's internet, printer, stationaries and whatever other utilities required, and managed to be ready with my work by 9. For a whole month I fueled my exam preparation from the company's resources, and yes, I claimed full overtime payment too. To be honest, a lot of times I used to feel guilty about this, but the pleasure I got from submitting my resignation letter after I got the job I was preparing for was a wholesome, out-of-the-world feeling. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.